You are listening to Radio Ramadan 365 podcasts.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, Sheikh Saab.
Wa alaikum salam, Sajjad Saab. How are you?
So we're covering your book, Zawia Discourses, Chapter 8, The Present Responsibility. In this chapter, we talk about Siddi Yusuf Abdul Rahman, who discussed a view of time. How do you view time in terms of past, present, and future? And if the past doesn't define us, what does?
So I'm first of all going to explore this idea of what I like to refer to as the distinction between an advancing and a receding view of time. And it might sound almost a contradiction of what I've said before. There's two ways of looking at being alive, if you like. You can see it as a process of accumulation or a process of expenditure. No. That that means that if you kind of consider your life as a linear process, it starts somewhere, it goes, and then it ends somewhere. If it's a process of accumulation, it means that as I'm born, and as I get older, there's more and more. I achieve more and more. I have more assets. I have more experiences, partners, whatever, blah, blah, blah. So there's more of me for me. I get more. I get bigger. I get more weighty. I mean, not just metaphorically, as I get older. Right? That's one way of looking at time. Now, obviously, the reference point against which this accumulation is happening is birth. There's more and more of me relative to when I was born. And then you can refer to that way of being, therefore, as having a receding view of time. Because the reference point against which you're getting more and more is birth. There's another way of being alive. And that is not to have the view that as I get older, there's more and more of me. To understand, as I get older, there's less and less of me. Every moment that I'm alive, I'm not busy getting something. I'm actually expending a potential. I'm handing something over. My life is a continuous process of handing over, of expenditure, of how can I say, paying the due, literally paying the toll, Now that means that I'm not looking at what I've been getting. I'm not thinking myself as being of accumulation. I view myself as something that's getting less and less over time. There's going to be less, so the reference point against which I get less and less is death. And that means having an advancing view of time, because the reference point that you're structuring this whole thing on is coming towards you, not moving away from you. Now, that means that if I base my life and the significance of my life on my accumulations, however I see it, fame, relationships, connections, wealth, assets, however I see that accumulation, it means that as I get older, I become heavier, more ossified, more sort of stuck, if you like, as a being. and less able to move. It's like a corpulent person finds it difficult to move. You've kind of weighted down by your own accumulation. Whereas if I view myself as not being accumulating at all, but handing over, every time that I'm alive, I'm busy expending something, then it means that as I get older, I'm lighter as a being. I'm more able to hand over what the moment requires of me. And we will get to a point where there will be a moment where the requirement is going to be an absolute one. And if your habit is, you've developed, if you like, a worldview based on accumulation, you cannot pass that exam. Because it's the opposite is asked, not what can you get, but how profoundly can you give. So to base your life on a set of accumulations is not a very clever idea at all. And to have a receding view of time is not a very clever idea at all. Yeah. And you have a receding view of time because you're always busy gaining more. And that gaining more is based on a sense of, as we indicated before, a sense of unrequited desire. What I have is not good enough. It is like a real glutton isn't satisfied by food. It's the most bizarre thing. Because it's not enough. So that's what an advancing, a receding view of time gives you. It gives you this discontentment, this disquiet in your own skin. No.
You give the analogy of living in the present moment, and almost like being in a dance partner with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Could you please explain what you mean by this analogy? And as it almost seems to make us on a similar playing field as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Well, look, I mean, because he's your dance partner doesn't make you equals. I mean, that would be quite a presumption. It's like, can I look away now? I don't want to see what's going to happen there. Yeah. So there's this idea that and it's rooted in the idea of decree, that before endless time, from the throne rolling over the footstool, there was the command to be, and things were, and started to become, and have rolled inexorably forward since then from the very first moment. And we are just still living the rolling thunder of that divine announcement. That all decree started in the beginning of time, and the thunder eventually will stop rolling, and that'll be the end of time. And all that we have is this little point that we're in now, but there's this massive sea of stuff that happened before, and this massive sea of stuff that's going to happen afterwards. So we're in the small bit, and the big bit is what's gone before, and the big bit is what's going to come. Well, you can't take me there. You can't take me to either the past or the future. And if you just use the thing of scale, what is the big and what's the small? Is the illusory big and the real small, or the other way around? Clearly, the real is what is significant and is weighty and is the big thing, and the illusory is not the big thing. Now, insofar as the past no longer exists and the future hasn't happened, the only thing that's real is the moment that we're in, which means the decree didn't happen then before. The decree is happening now. And which now? This now. So the one who's announcing the decree is to me now. Not in a now. I don't know about the now on the other side of the planet, and I don't know, Pakistan, because I'm not there. I'm here in this room. This is a real room, my real experience right now. So the one who's decreeing in this room is him. Now, of all the things you could conceivably decree, I mean, think about how unlikely it is that the one who decrees all is having this immediate engagement with me right now, like a face-to-face engagement. I mean, it's it's a stupendous experience. And then I ask myself, well, why? I don't find myself that interesting that, the boss of bosses would come and sit and have a very personal, immediate engagement with me right now. He clearly sees something I don't. And not just that, but he keeps on doing things to me that creates the necessity for me to respond in ways that I suppose he finds interesting. I mean, why would you have a conversation with anybody if you don't find them interesting? So I think he finds me interesting. And I mean, that might sound immensely narcissistic, but I don't think I'm unique. I think he's doing exactly the same thing to you. And he's doing exactly the same thing to all the billions of us on the planet, moment by moment. Simultaneously. Talk about a stupendous intelligence. Why? Because he finds you interesting. Because he's having a dance with you. And he says, I'm going to do this move, and then you do that. And then sometimes he says, no, man, but what you did there, that's not eloquent. That's not a nice movement. And then you'll cause something to give you a swat on the side of the ear that you wake up now, man. Dance nicely with me. But it's all done. It's all done for the delight of the dance, for the delight of this moment that you're in, this experience of delight and surprise. Alhamdulillah.
We still have time.
We still have time.
Yeah.
I don't know what else to say about that.
I mean, that in itself really opens one's mind at how we live life. It is the past, the present, the future. And that dance with Allah, that constant push and pull.
Yeah, so I mean, it strikes me that we. I mean, it's not to say that life is not doesn't have serious things in it, and that we have license to be frivolous and dismissive, and but at the same time, this is his game. This is his play. And so we're allowed to at least have a sense of humor about our own lives. And and a sense of savoring and enjoyment about our lives. Because we don't savor and enjoy our lives, we suffer them. We kind of, we suffer them because we carry this immense burden of outcomes that we think is up to us to manage, and they're not even necessarily outcomes that are in our interest. I mean, I have to sort of, I'd like to be a success at my career, get this degree or whatever it is that I'm pursuing. But it's also a pursuit of outcomes in the interest of others, that we somehow carry that as our burden. But there's, all burden, all carrying is carrying forward. But there's no other side to forward. There's no getting there. So you don't have to have this thing of carrying the burden in your mind. You carry the burden you carry is a burden you're carrying in your own consciousness. It's not actually there. So we can afford to view ourselves as the dance partners of the Rabb, because he is having a playful engagement with us. And he's deemed us to be significant enough to have a playful engagement with him. In that sense, our lives are not arbitrary or meaningless. Our lives are true, every one of us alive is the favorite of the Rabb.
That in itself, when you were talking about the billions of us, the 8 billion of us, that each of us are experiencing that simultaneously, and we just find it unique to ourselves. Just to be,
and it's the structure of how our consciousness works makes that necessarily so. I mean, every conscious being, and certainly every conscious human being, is the center of the universe. I mean, you are epicentral both in terms of time and in terms of space. What do we mean by epicentral in terms of space? The front of you stretches into infinity in that direction. The back of you stretches into infinity in that direction. The top of you into, and so on. So who's in the middle? You're in the middle. You're in the middle of everything that exists. It's the very nature of consciousness puts you in the middle. And insofar as you're the one in the middle, you are the point. Everything revolves around you. It is like that. That's how consciousness is created. That's the miracle of how he's made this thing. That he's made every one of us the purpose, the point. Not only has he made you epicentral to space, he's made you epicentral to time. I mean, it's like all things that have happened prior to this moment have been the necessary precondition for you to be sitting there right now and for me to be sitting here right now. If it required the Big Bang to enable, these clouds of gases and, which was the necessary precondition for stars, which was the necessary precondition for the periodic table, which was the necessary for solar systems, and then this particular solar system that has this third rock from the sun where water could exist, and all of these preconditions, everything had to happen so that we could be here now. Talk about an investment. This is all things that have happened prior to now are a necessary precondition for now. All events have been woven together to deliver this moment. This is the most supreme moment of all history, is the one that we're sitting in right now. Everything that has happened prior to this has its point in this moment. And if you recognize the significance of that, it also means that you recognize that the smallest thing you do now will echo away from you and affect all things over time into perpetuity as well. Nothing that you now do now is arbitrary. It reverberates away from you into the fullness of time. You affect all things that are to come, and you are produced by all things that have come. Now is the articulating miracle. Everything is dependent on this moment that you're in now. You know, now is the point. Here is the point. The point you're in the middle. You're epicentral to space. You're epicentral to time. And the Lord of both of those things encapsulates you and has you as the focus and the center of his love and his attention. You are the most amazing thing. He only has eyes for you. It's the way in which he structured existence that he'll only have eyes for you. And he's not even fickle, because he can only have eyes for me at the same time and not be duplicitous. He's extraordinary like that.
It's incredible.
Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. That hit. And I think those that are listening, it will hit for them as well.
Inshallah.
Yes, thank you very much. In conclusion of chapter 8, we look forward for you to join us in chapter 9.